What's up everyone, ये बतपेश कुमार here and welcome back to another video on Boeing Boy. And आज की वीडियो होने वाली है काफ़ी सच बताने वाली, a very honest video which is gonna be about pilot fatigue. Now in the news in the last week you must have seen that a number of pilots very unfortunately passed away. One pilot in India and two pilots abroad. Now the real reason for their deaths would obviously come out after a proper investigation if it happens. However, that has sparked a pretty big debate, and a lot of people, a lot of pilots are now speaking up about something known as pilot fatigue. Now, aviation and pilot life in general seems to be a very glamorous profession, wherein you're traveling the world, you're going on layovers, you have nice hotels, and the uniform, everything looks very glamorous from outside. But the reality is something very different, and today I'm going to tell you that reality. So I'm sure a lot of you saw this news. This leading Indian airline captain who was going to operate a flight fainted at the gate and eventually upon reaching the hospital very unfortunately passed away. Now the real reason for his death of course is unknown. Unfortunately, I don't even think there will be a complete investigation into it as to what happened. However, this pilot fatigue issue eventually came up, and believe me, it's a very real thing. And let me tell you why it happens. Now, what I'm talking about here applies to both pilots as well as to cabin crew first of all, because cabin crew are also governed by pretty much the same rules and they're also at the receiving end. And all of us are at the receiving end of this rule known as consecutive night operations. Now, as per this rule, pilots can fly for 2 consecutive nights, which basically means I could be flying tonight, I could also be flying tomorrow night. Now, if I've been flying for 2 nights, obviously on the third day my sleep cycle would go for a toss because I was flying at night. So as a result, I must have been sleeping during the daytime. Now on the third day, I end up operating a flight in the daytime when I've been sleeping the 2 previous days, and that further aggravates the problem. So as a result, overall your body starts to feel tired, you start to feel drained out, and eventually in the long run it does result in some actual serious health problems. This can be proven by this news report which came out a few days back.
Okay, take a look at this alarming data that's just come in on pilot stress levels, which is precisely what I'm talking about. We've got our hands on documents and data suggesting that 181 pilots have been declared temporarily unfit by a single airline. We won't take that airline's name.
So pilots have to undergo medicals every year, and 181 pilots being unfit means there is something wrong in the system. 6 people have been permanently grounded, they can no longer fly. And somewhere, pilot fatigue will for sure be a contributing factor if there is ever a proper investigation into this thing. Then comes the issue of FDTL. Now FDTL is basically a set of rules and guidelines issued by DGCA which tells the airlines this is the maximum amount that a pilot can fly and this is the minimum amount of rest they should be getting. Now these are of course guidelines, and if you have a certain maximum amount of flying, it doesn't mean you actually have to fly that maximum amount. We've been just flying at the limits of our FDTL every week, every month, and for years at an end. Now, as per FDTL regulations, I can fly for 8 hours. Great, 8.5 hours. It's a little complicated, but basically, let's say I can fly for 8 hours in a day. Now, flying for 8 hours in a day is not a problem. The problem is the flight duty period. Now, flight duty period basically includes the time you go to your office, your traveling time, blah blah blah. All of that is a part of the duty time. Now, the body is still working when you're going to the airport, or when you're going to the office, or when you're walking to the aircraft, and all of that also further contributes to the fatigue. Now, airlines have their patterns designed in such a way that the pilot and the aircraft are operating separately. What I mean to say by that is, the pilot could be operating 3 different aircrafts in the same day, and there might be a halt of 2 hours where he has to sit on the ground for 2 hours and wait for the next aircraft to come in so he can operate his flight. Now this again further adds to our fatigue. So as a result, majority of the times the real issue is not the fact that I'm flying too much. The real issue is that my flight duty time is a bit too much, and doing that every day for 6 days a week, working on minimum rest, is obviously gonna eventually end up affecting my health And also other factors such as I'm not able to spend time with the family. If I'm coming back home for only 15 hours, which is the minimum amount of time between chalks on to chalks off, in 15 hours all I want to do is crash on the bed and sleep, because obviously I don't have the energy to spend time with my family or do things that I love or have a general better personal life. Another problem that came up, especially post COVID, has been the number of sectors or the number of flights that pilots are operating every given day. Now, obviously, after COVID, the number of flights suddenly went up, and as a result, every other day you'll find pilots who are operating 4 sectors a day. Now, 4 sectors basically means I'm operating 4 different flights on the same day. So basically, I could be doing Delhi, Bombay, Bombay, Chennai, Chennai, Bombay, and then Bombay to probably Nagpur. And then when I reach Nagpur, I'm obviously not going home, I'm going to a hotel. So I'm sleeping in a different bed every day, I'm eating hotel food every day, I am away from my family every day. And all of that eventually overall does keep on adding to how you generally feel, how your health is, and how your body feels. There are other smaller factors as well, such as food. Aircraft food is obviously not the best. I'm sure all of you have traveled on flights know. Another factor is the pressurization cycles. So whenever you take off and you cruise, your body is at a much higher altitude or at a much lower pressure than we would normally be on the ground. Also, the humidity in the air, it affects how tired you feel. Aircraft air is extremely lacking in humidity, and as a result you have to constantly keep yourself hydrated. And despite all of this, there is obviously the constant need of maintaining a healthy and a fit body, because at the end of the day you have to clear your medical to be able to fly, and we have our medicals every year which check are we okay or not. So as a result, you still have to find the time to go to the gym even if you're tired, or you still have to control your diet, or you still have to try and eat as healthy as you can despite all of these situations happening around you. And eventually, over a period of time, you wouldn't realize this when you're young, but as the body starts to get old, especially after you cross 35, 40, your body starts to realize that it's undergoing a lot of fatigue, it's undergoing a lot of work, and all of these factors eventually end up contributing to pilots either becoming TMU or having some or the other health problems, facing personal life issues, simply because of the fact that they cannot spend time, meet their family, do fun stuff with them. And all of these problems, they are very real, and pretty much every pilot, especially on the narrow body aircrafts like the 320 or the 737, has been facing them for quite some time. The wide body people who are flying wide body aircrafts, who are doing long hauls or ultra long haul flights, they have their own set of issues like time zone differences, jet lag, and overall pilot life very glamorous from outside, but very honestly अंदर की बात थोड़ी सी अलग है, like you guys know now. At the end of the day, is it a bad job? Not at all. I personally don't think so. I personally find it amazing. The feeling of flying, the views, everything. There are a lot of positives for sure, but then there are some negatives as well, like I told you guys in this video. I sincerely hope that the airlines start thinking of pilots and cabin crew as humans, start understanding their plights, and overall we reach a balanced situation where pilots get their desired rest, the airlines get their desired profits, and everyone stays happy. But till then, let's go and do 4 sectors. I'll see you guys in the next one.